Hello there, friends, and welcome to Dancer's Delight Knit Cowl for chart number 2. As you know, we are working along this Christmas in July for the Sleigh, the holiday make-along, and we are creating a festive and fun knit cowl. By this point, you have completed your edging and chart number 1, and you're ready to jump in with chart number 2. And I'm going to instruct you on the little bits that I think you need to be aware of. The first thing we're going to pay attention to is gauge, gauge, gauge. That's right. We want to make sure we are maintaining gauge not only throughout this entire chart, but throughout this entire cowl. We will achieve that by making sure that our floats are nice and relaxed and not strangling our stitches as we are working around the cowl. And we want to make sure that our stitches are the same size as our needle to help keep it consistent. So speaking of gauge, that leads us again to floats. We want to talk a little bit about those floats. How long should a float be? Should we tuck a float? How do we tuck a float? And then we also want to talk about using more than 2 colors in a round. There are some rounds on this particular piece where we will be using 3 colors around. So we want to discuss how you handle 3 colors and our yarn management with that. It's not too difficult with a little bit of patience. And if you hold the yarn in both hands, it makes it a heck of a lot easier. So go ahead, grab your homework, grab your yarn, and grab that free pattern available at marlybird.com. Or if you have the pattern upgrade, it is available right now inside of your Marly Birdhouse in the chart number 2 module. All right, first things first, let's take a look at that chart. Here is the lovely chart for section number 2 of the cowl. Isn't this great? It's kind of like a fun little snowflake with some little bits of details. I chose to make this a series of 3 different colors inside of the main motif, but we begin with sort of a checkerboard sort of feel, right? We're going to change colors every other stitch, red, black, red, black, red, black. And then we transfer over to round 2 where it's one solid color with our blue. Round 3, we're going to trade colors from blue and red, but there is a large path between where we use that red stitch on stitch number 16 and where we use it again on the following repeat where it's on stitch number 8. So there's a lot of stitches there. That's where we're going to want to tuck in our float so it's not super long, okay? When we get to round 4, that's when we're introducing a 3rd color, and we can either work that 3rd color in within the entire row and make sure that we're tucking it so we don't get long floats, or we could absolutely eliminate the 3rd color completely and just make those red instead of white, or you could make them red instead of white and then go back and do duplicate stitch later on with white over top of your red stitches, or make them blue and do white over top of blue stitches, whatever works best for you. I would actually make them red so that way it helps with the whole tucking in situation because it gives you a chance to have stitches worked where you don't have a very long float. Regardless, whatever your choice is, if you are following along with this chart, you will find this, of course, in your free pattern. If you have the pattern upgrade, you have the Stitch Fiddle link for this. So you can come up here and you can click that little A tab right there and you can get the color blocks to show at the bottom, which we're looking at right down here. And this little tab right there, it says Progress Tracker. We can click on that, and it will highlight what round we are on as we're working along. So after you finish round number 1, you can come over here and click this arrow on the right, and it will highlight round number 2. You'll see that the color blocks also change. Highlight number 3, color blocks also change. It just makes things really, really user-friendly. And this is an exclusive feature inside of the pattern upgrade. So if you are thinking that is something you want to be a part of and you're following along with that free pattern, you can get all the information you need about the pattern upgrade in the video description box right down there below. All right, now that we've taken a look at the chart, let's go ahead. We are going to jump over to my little working swatch sample, which, as you know, is not anything like what you are working on here. It's just for me to be able to show you the different techniques that I want to jump in with. And I am going to jump in with round number 3 so that I can get you started with the tucking of the colors. And then we're going to jump in with a few stitches from round number 4 where we have 3 different colors inside the round. All right, let's jump over. Okay, Just as I did for chart number 1, I'm using this little swatch here to demonstrate the technique we're going to talk about. My main color here, this burgundy, is going to represent the blue in the chart. This pink is going to represent the red in the chart. I'm also starting with round number 3 because that's where the instructions are really important and different than what we were talking about too much in chart number 1. Well, with the exception of tucking, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a recap on the tucking of the stitches. So I'm supposed to go ahead and knit 7 stitches here with my main color, or the blue color, okay? I call it main color because it's the one that's mostly used in this particular motif. The next stitch is my red. So I'm going to use my pink here and knit 1 stitch with the pink. Now I'm supposed to do 2 with the purple, or the blue, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm back to the red. Now, because I am not going behind more than just a couple stitches here, I don't have to worry about tucking anything, right? My big concern here is just making sure that I am not making the float on either one of these colors too snug, right? That one is just 1 and 1 and 1, which we will get used to after the very first row. Let's see, so 2. I think this one was 2, right? 2, 1, and then, yep, this is 2. And then we're back to 1. And now this is where I'm going to be going across several stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and work the 4 stitches to finish off my stitch pattern repeat, right? So that's the full 20 stitches of my repeat. I can put a marker on here. If you don't already have them on there, add one. I highly recommend it, but I like to have them in there. And now my pink is all the way over here, and I don't have to use it again for another 7 stitches after these 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and knit 1 stitch, and then I'm going to tuck the stitch right here in the 5th one. So if you remember, I am holding my main color in my left hand. The one I want to tuck is in my right hand. So I'm going to wrap my needle as I normally would, right? My right hand needle, I wrap it. Then I wrap my needle as I normally would with my purple. Then I unwrap with the pink, and that will tuck that pink in. And so now I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and my pink is right here to come over and get used versus over here. So I have a much shorter float. We talked about that after chart number 1, so this is just a little refresher for that, and hopefully you can understand how that would work, okay? You see that? So let me just go here just a little bit more, and we're going to finish up this particular section. And that is my 20 stitch repeat, right? My 20 stitch repeat. So I could add another marker. I'm pretty sure I have another 20 stitches here I could work. So what I want to do now, instead of doing everything we just did again right here, I am going to go ahead and we're going to jump up to round number 4. And in this round, I'm going to introduce a 3rd color. All right, so I'm going to bring this 3rd color over, and I'm using this brown instead of white. And so right now, it's very important that your color management is all set. So I have my main color over here towards my left because I plan on using my main color in my left hand. My 2 alternate colors, I have them over here to the right, and I am going to make sure that they maintain placement throughout so that they're always the same. So my brown here, which will take the place of the white, I'm going to have it to where it's closest to me. So it's always going to be over here closest to me. And then my pink, which represents the red, I'm going to have it away from me over here on the right. Okay, so you're going to see how this works for me. So working as if we are jumping to round 4. So we just did round 3 with those 2 little samples there. You should know how to do that, right? Handling those floats, you got it good. Now let's go to round 4, handling the 3 colors, okay? So this one, we would knit 5 with our main color. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and tuck my pink because it would still be in here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and tuck it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 5. And I'm going to drop my pink and put it over there. Remember I said I'm going to keep it away from me. Now I'm supposed to do one stitch with my white, which is my brown, right? So I'm going to go in, wrap with my brown, come out and off. My brown now is just kind of hanging out here. And I go ahead and I continue with one white. I'm going to move my brown over here. Remember I said I'm going to have it so it's closest to me. I'm going to grab my pink as it's away, because the next stitch is pink. Make sure I'm always separating my stitches, making sure they have some nice little space. So I do my one pink. There's my second pink, which because there's two reds, right? Then I'm going to go back to one blue. And I'm going to go back to one pink. Now, this is where I should be tucking my white, right? My white, which is my brown here, I should be tucking it on this next one. So I'm going to, because I have two blues here, so I'm going to do one of them. I'm going to put my pink back down, again, away from me. I'm going to grab my white or my brown. I'm going to tuck this one, and then I'm going to put this back over here. And now I'm back to my red or my pink. Hopefully that's not super confusing to you guys, all the different colors. Just I'm trying to give you what the color represented in the chart is versus what I'm using. So I did two pink, so now I have one of my blue or my main, and now I'm back to my white. And because I tucked it right there, I can do it right here, right? Again, I'm going to move it over here out of the way. I'm back to my pink. So I go 1 and 2, and that would be the end of my repeat. So I'd put my marker and I'd go on. Now the rest of this, I have 5 stitches before I use white again. So not only do I have this one going over 7 stitches before I use it again, but then the pink is also going over many stitches before I use it again. So I have a choice to do. I can either tuck in this one because it's going across 7, which usually rule of thumb is 4 to 6. But honestly, I would be okay with this going over 7 right here. I would be more concerned making sure I tuck in the pink. So if I put my marker, I'm out of markers, but let's say it was time to tuck in my pink. I would pick up my pink and tuck it, move it, and then keep going. And then when it was time to use my white or my brown, I'd be able to use it. And the importance of moving the yarn and making sure that they're in the same place is really because of your floats. You want to make sure that your brown or my white, because I kept it over here towards me, it's always on top of all of the other floats. So in the order of like hierarchy, for me, it goes brown, white, and then the maroon color, right? And I keep that consistent. That way, none of my floats are ever twisted around each other, and it leaves it so that way the consistency on this side of my work is just as nice, okay? So when the back of your work is just as nice and consistent as the front, it makes a world of difference. So when I talk about yarn management, this is what I'm talking about. Keep the one of the colors, I don't care which one, keep one of them up here, keep the other one down here, and then your main color, whatever you're holding in your left hand, keep over here on this side. Same process would be if you had a 4th color in here. You could put the 4th color like right here between these two and just maintain its same position, and you would be a-okay. All right. Should you not want to do 3 colors in a round, as I mentioned, you could just, instead of doing that brown or what would be white, you could just make those pink and then go back and do duplicate stitch, which we talked about before, and create that into a different color after the fact. Okay, totally up to you. Now let's go ahead and come back over here. I want to take a look at this chart one more time, because one of the things that you can do if you have the pattern upgrade is if you want to change the colors on your chart so that you know where you're using what, you can do that. So say you decided you want to throw in this yellow color in here and you wanted to throw it in right here in the middle, okay? And say you didn't want to mess up anything with the red, so you left the red all the same, but instead of any of the white, you made those yellow instead of white, okay? Just to give yourself a little bit more flair, right? You could absolutely do that. You could even change these little bits up here to yellow and these little bits down here to yellow, which gives you, of course, more colors along your row. But the important one is right here on round 4, that would give you 4 colors along the row. So if you don't want to change those colors as you're knitting it, this is where the duplicate stitch can come in, and you can really spice up the colors in all of your project simply by doing duplicates over those. And like I mentioned before, if you did not want to do the 3 colors in one row or round, you could always change all of these white ones. You could change them all to red. You could change them all to red if you wanted to. So I can come in here and I can just make it all red. And just that will give you a much more subtle motif going on here. But maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want a different look. Can you see that? You can change all these to red too. You can do whatever works best for you. Whatever you think is going to look the best on your project. I'm just going with the back button here to kind of undo everything that we did. And we're back to where we started. Maybe you don't want to do red and black down here for these little checker bits. You could always change those to pink. Okay. I will give you a little bit of a pause though. You don't know what the other charts look like yet. So maybe pink isn't the next color you want to have there. Maybe you are thinking, maybe I'll wait and decide what I want to do up there and until I see the next chart. So you could always work up to chart number 22 and just wait to do 23 until, or not chart, row 22, and wait to do row 23 until you see chart number 3 to see what color you want to do. Like there's so many options for you. It all depends on what you're going for. But overall, you're going to still be consistent with the stockinette stitch using the stranded colorwork. Tuck in those floats that you don't have really long, obnoxious floats. It's really not that hard to do. Just take your time. And if you're holding the yarn just like I am, you will always be tucking the yarn color that will be in your right hand. And it makes it pretty darn easy. My biggest piece of advice is be careful with the yarn that's in your left hand, because that's the one I usually will make the float a little bit too tight. And it's probably because I'm used to knitting with the yarn in my left hand, so I tend to just make it a little bit more snug. So I'm always making sure that the stitches are nice and spaced out. They have enough room to breathe on my needle as my float goes behind them. Okay, we don't want any puckering. Have fun with the color. Make sure you snap a picture as you're working along. Share with me on social media. I can't wait to see your progress. This is so much fun, and I'll talk to you in the next video, everybody. I'm Marly Bird, your By Crafty bestie, and let's go and slay the holiday. Bye, guys.